All right. Thank you so much for downloading today's episode of The Red Pill Investor. My name's Carl Krenzel, here to help you with your real estate sales skills, here to help you sell more homes in less time, and frankly, just have a really good time doing it. Thank you so much for downloading today's episode of The Red Pill Investor. I'm not sure where you're joining me from. If you're joining me from YouTube at my YouTube channel, Sell More Homes Now, then I really appreciate you finding me on YouTube. I would highly recommend that you open up an extra browser window, open up and check out theredpillinvestor.com. That's my podcast. You're going to go ahead and hear this podcast as well as over 500 other ones. This is episode number 545, Hard Lessons iBuyers Have Taught Realtors and Investors. Yes, hard lessons. Hard lessons. Yeah, there's some hard lessons that need to be learned here when we're starting to talk about iBuyers and the growth of iBuyers in the marketplace. I mean, if you have not had to deal with iBuyers in your marketplace yet, well, just wait. You will. I mean, either you're not out there getting into the market, or you maybe live in a small town, but one way or the other, iBuyers are a thing that are something that is going to be affecting your business. And if you're a realtor listening to this podcast, or if you're an investor listening to this podcast, either way you go, the fact is that iBuyer companies are affecting your business. Now, why do I say this? Well, this is from an article that I discovered on U.S. News called What to Expect When Buying a Home from an iBuyer. And the article is written by a lady by the name of Dima Williams. You know, I want to give a big shout out to her for writing this article because it does cover three main things that people can learn when buying property from an iBuyer. Now, here's pretty much what the article said. Now, as we go along, I'm going to give you a couple highlights that I found from the article. You can certainly go into the description here below. I'll leave a link for the article, or you can go on U.S. News and look it up yourself. But I'm going to read the article, parts of the article to you that I think would be relevant to your business, things that I think you need to know, and some commentary, I think, on why this is happening and what you can do to counteract these effects. So let's just go through the article very briefly here. It says that the process is changing. It says an unwieldy process, heavy on paperwork and dependent on constant communication, home buying may be poised for a change, and that change may be coming from iBuyers. Well, listen, let me start off right from the beginning that is an absolute correct point. I mean, this is an unwieldy process. Buying a piece of real estate is an unwieldy process, heavy on paperwork, and it is dependent on constant communication between everybody. If you've been in real estate for more than a day, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Even the simplest of transactions require a lot of communication between you and the buyer and the lender and the escrow company, the escrow and the buyer and the escrow everybody's talking to everybody, right? And there's an awful lot of paperwork that needs to be done. And for home buying, that's just an awful lot of problem that people just don't like to deal with. It says that companies that quickly buy and sell homes, iBuyers have piqued national attention for their disruptive take on home selling. While a subject of lesser focus, home buying is now also succumbing to novel methods in the fledgling iBuyer industry, populated by Zillow, OpenDoor, OfferPad, and even Keller Williams. Now, I want to highlight here something. There's always a perpetual race to the bottom. If you listened to my podcast yesterday about how Amazon is entering into the market, this is creating a delineation, I think, between the way people are starting to look at real estate. All right. Some people are going to be of the mind that, it's just, something that I can sell very quickly. They'll probably use a transactional type of agent, maybe an iBuyer, something like that. It's not that big of a deal. They're just going to be done with it. For them, convenience might be more important than price. Now, if you've been in real estate for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've been in that situation before where a seller has said, look, let's just get this done, right? Convenience is sometimes more important than price. in this particular circumstance, what we're talking about is we're talking about an industry that is rife with problems. It's unwieldy, as the article says. It says the common denominator in many of these companies' vision is to make home buying as simple as buying a product on Amazon, said Rob Barber, CEO of data firm Atom Data Solutions. Absolutely. This is critically important here. I mean, people today want to make things simple for themselves. And in a computerized age of blockchain and e-signatures and verified signatures you can do electronically, it's unconscionable to me that we have such an industry that requires manual uploading of paperwork from a buyer to a lending officer, then a lending officer up to the system. Those times are changing. I continue with the article. It says, yet, despite constant geographical expansion, the model is still in its infancy, seemingly centered at creating a desirable customer experience rather than huge profits. Let's take at the numbers, okay? Let's take a look at that. Now, I know many of you who listen to the podcast might be thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, there's just OpenDoor and Zillow and Redfin and everybody, OfferPad, all these other people who are starting to do this. It's going to be incredibly difficult for me to buy property because they just make it hard for me. That's a competitor I have to deal with. Okay, I understand your concern. Let's look at the numbers, okay? Let's look at the real data as presented in this article. It says the numbers, says OpenDoor says that it buys and sells 3,000 homes a month. That's what they say. 3,000 homes a month across the United States. OfferPad's tally is in the hundreds, says Courtney Reed, the company's director of communications and outreach. Zillow volunteered a little bit more data. They said that they sold 414 homes in the first quarter of 2019. Most of them were purchased in the previous period. Now, I want you to listen to this. If you're in your car, pay attention, okay? Pay attention to your driving, but I want you to pay attention to this as well. Listen to this. Zillow sold 414 homes in the first quarter of 2019. Most of them were purchased in the previous period for $128.5 million in revenue. Now, this amount exceeds the acquisition, renovation, and holding costs for those 414 properties that they sold by $300,000. They sold 414 homes and made $300,000. Okay, hang on. In case you didn't hear me, because I know many times people, we tend to zone out when we're out there, prospecting and driving along down the road and all these other things. I want you to listen to what I just told you, okay? In case you didn't hear in case I didn't make it clear, okay, listen to that real quick, okay? They made $300,000 on 414 properties. That's per property, okay? That's a 2% profit. Their profit is less than $1,000 per property. That's according to the letter that they sent out to their shareholders. Okay, I'm not making these numbers up. This is Zillow's actual data. So when you're saying that you're terrified, you're scared, you're nervous, and you're worried about OfferPad and OpenDoor and Zillow and all these other iBuyers, well, understand a couple fundamental things. First, they're not buying a lot of property. And the ones that they do sell, for example, Zillow, they're not making a lot of money. Why? Well, I think it's pretty clear. I mean, if you've been dealing with any of these characters as a competitor, then you know what the game is. You go in there, you tell a homeowner, I can give you X amount for the property. OfferPad comes along or some of these other people come along, make these crazy offers, right? And something you can't match. So then they come along to buy the property, and then what do you know? They make less than $1,000 on it per property over 414 homes. Let me tell you something. This reminds me of something else that a Mike Ferry coach told me one time many, many years ago, right? The reason why you're broke is because you don't focus. That's really it. I mean, think about your business, okay? I don't know how many homes you sold last year. Probably wasn't 414 homes in a quarter. But let's just suppose you sold, I don't know, 2 homes a month for 12 months. That's 24 homes. Let's say at the minimum you sold 24 homes. Do you think that you could make more money in 24 homes than per home than they did through a regular residential real estate? As a listing agent, if you sold 24 listings, do you think you'd make more money per home than Zillow did in all their fanciness? Well, yeah, of course. You sell anything that makes more than $1,000 as a commission, you're going to make more than Zillow did per home. Let's see what Zillow President Jeremy Waxman said about this. I mean, surely you would think, I mean, that if you were the CEO of Zillow and you had this great idea that you were going to buy homes and sell them and flip them and it was going to make money, and then when the quarter came out and you found out, oh, wait a minute, what's that? We made $128.5 million in revenue. Oh, that's great. How much did it cost us to do all this? What's that? It cost us $125.5 million to do it? Oh my gosh. You mean we only made $300,000? Well gosh, I mean, did we only do like 3 properties? What's that? No, we did 414 properties and we only made like $1,000 each? Well, surely he would take some, heat for this. Surely he would say, gosh, I might have made a bad mistake. Gosh, maybe we need to refocus our efforts or whatever. Let's see what Zillow President Jeremy Waxman says. He says, our goal, what's this? Our goal is not to profit off the markup on the house. Oh. Well, that's obviously the problem. That's obviously the reason. Okay. It says the goal is to properly assess what the house is worth and what it will take to sell the house. Okay. All right, so wait a minute. You didn't buy 414 homes and put, what was it? $120 something million worth of time, money, and energy into a project to make $300,000, and now you're going to come back and say that your goal was not really to profit off the markup of the house. Well, guess what, Jeremy Waxman? Mission accomplished. Congrats. You're the only dude I know who can sell 414 homes in a quarter and only make $1,000 a home, make $300,000. Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. He says for that, iBuyers utilize data and analytics, but the Zestimate, Zillow's assessment tool of home values, is separate from the iBuying branch, avoiding a chance to manipulate prices for profit, the company says. Well, it's just as well because you don't want to use Zestimate anyway. If you use Zestimate to try and buy your homes, you wouldn't even have made $1,000, President Jeremy Waxman. You would have lost money if you used that. Consider yourself blessed that you were separate from the Zestimate. Please give me a chance. It says while buying and selling in bulk could boost iBuyers' bottom line, the market echelon they occupy is already saturated in demand. Hello. Yeah, have you ever wondered why it is that, and despite the fact that the market is so strong, despite that the interest rates are so low, why is it that the first-time home buyer market is so hard to get into? Why? Why is it that over the summertime, new home sales increased for the first time and everything else is kind of tapered off? Why is that? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because the inventory that is available on the market today, over half of it Over 50% of the market today, people who are living in the homes that they're living in, are built prior to 1980. Okay? They're getting older. And the people who are living in the homes that they're in are not moving but once every 8 years. Okay, it's increasing. People are not moving as often as they used to. And so now you get people like iBuyers, like Keller Williams and HomeSmart, and OfferPad and Zillow and these types of companies. They come along, make offers, get into this market, start doing their repairs, and now it's harder for them to sell them. The article continues and says, iBuyers and Keller Williams as well function in a price point that is mostly for first-time home buyers and maybe second step-up buyers, says Caitlin Ziegler, Director of Operations for Keller Williams, part of Keller Williams, which is beta testing the model. Some see this as a potential drawback for both iBuyers and individual home buyers. But Waxman considers it an advantage for home shoppers. We think one of the great promises of Zillow offers is that it's going to create more equity in the market, Waxman says, adding that the appeal of iBuyers' cash offers may spur sellers who might otherwise hold off on parting their home. Well, I don't know about much of that, but one thing I do know is that iBuyers quickly list their purchased homes. Okay, when they buy those properties, they put it right back on the market very, very quickly. Unless, of course, they sell it to an investor. According to Adam data, OfferPad and OpenDoor sold 1 in 10 homes that they had to investors in 2018. That's a share that's risen by 3% every year since 2016. All right, now think this through. Okay, if the OfferPad people are buying it straight from the homeowner, and then every year since 2016, they've been increasing the amount of homes that they're selling to investors. I mean, in 2018, last year, okay, OfferPad sold 1 in 10. OfferPad and OpenDoor sold 1 in 10 of their homes to investors. And it's been going that way every way for the last couple years. It's just been going up and up and up. So there's really no reason to believe that OfferPad is not going to increase the amount of homes that they're selling to investors as the years progress. Of course, if the market keeps up. So what does this tell you? What does this sound like to you? I mean, when you think about it, you listen to this Red Pill Investor podcast, or you watch me on YouTube or whatever. Why? Because we talk about wholesaling. We talk about real estate investing. We talk about being a realtor and going out and real estate investing and wholesaling properties and adding that to your inventory of repertoire of things you do. And I've been telling you for the past, I don't know how many years that this podcast has been on, the last 545 episodes, surely I've been telling you that you needed to go out there and add this to your repertoire of skills because there's companies out there who are doing it for you. Now, back when we started the podcast 5, 6, 7 years ago, or whatever it was, okay, then back then it was the We Buy Houses outfits. It was the big national We Buy Houses things, right? And I remember a time, some of you might remember it with me, when there was a 1-800 number thing. You could get your 1-800 number, 1-800 FAIR-OFFER, right? And you get a fair offer for your 1-800 FAIR offer number for your local zip code or area. You pay a certain amount of money for that. And anybody who calls out 1-800 FAIR offer, you get that as a lead. I remember that. And that was just 5 years ago. That was what we had to deal with as far as competition back then. Oh, it was your local We Buy Houses a guy, and maybe an 800 number type of thing, maybe your local wholesalers or whatever. That was your competition. But now you've got OpenDoor and OfferPad going out and doing the same thing you are trying to do. They're putting them under contract, and 1 in 10 they decide not to do anything with. They sell it to an investor. How is that fundamentally any different than a wholesale deal? How is that any different? It's just a double close. It's a little longer, perhaps. It says, here's what a home buyer may expect from an iBuyer today. 3 things, right? First, minimum renovation standards. Now, I'm going to go through these, and I want you to listen to this because this affects you as a realtor and it affects you as a real estate investor. Doesn't matter if you're licensed or not. Doesn't matter if you're a realtor who invests or if you don't invest. This still affects you. I'm a listing agent myself. I list and sell properties here in Tucson, Arizona all the time. I wholesale properties. I buy properties. I flip properties. I do the same thing I'm telling you to do. And I'm telling you, as a listing agent, as a buying agent, this is something you need to know. As an investor, this is what you need to know because this is your competition. And this is what the buyers have been flocking to these people for. This is what your fear is. You say you're scared of these people competing against you when for 5 years you've had other kinds of competition. You didn't worry about that as much. Well, listen, I'm telling you right here, if you're worried about this, then find out why it is that these buyers are using this, why these sellers are using this, and then you can develop strategies for your presentation so you won't have to have this as a problem for you. That's the whole reason why I'm going through this with you. I'm making this podcast today in the desperate hopes that you will listen to this and that you will take some of these, just any of these ideas, and you will apply them into your career and that you yourself will be able to make something better for yourself. Listen, here's what they're expecting. Number one, minimum renovation standards. Minimum renovation standards, okay? And don't worry, I'm going to go into these in just a minute, but just so you can kind of get an overview of what I'm going to talk about. Second, easy digital access to homes and services. And third, adherence to tradition in representation and the regular cost outliers. Now, let me explain this, okay? When we're talking about minimum renovation standards, okay, after acquiring a home, okay, iBuyers tend to go ahead and carry out these renovations, all right? Yeah, the type that a seller would typically do. Now, if you're a listing agent, you've been in that appointment where a seller says, well, gosh, should we replace the carpet? Should we repaint? I mean, maybe we should give them a carpet allowance. Maybe we should give them a paint allowance. You know, those types of renovations. When you've been in that situation and you've said, well, yeah, let's offer a carpet allowance, or yeah, we'll take a little bit off for the price. How is this fundamentally different than what an iBuyer is doing up front? It's not. Let's see what Mr. Waxman says. He says, we are mostly focused on buying homes that don't have any major timely renovation work needed. Now remember, this is the same fellow that said that they weren't really looking to make any profit. Well, you know, if you're buying homes that don't have any major timely renovation work that are needed, how is it that you only made $1,000 a deal? That's all I'm trying to figure out. I mean, I'm not trying to harp on that, but I mean, gosh, I don't know. I mean, he says we're focused on that. Okay, well, he says with each Zillow offers home, Waxman says, buyers should expect a quality standard devoid of any major complications such as faulty plumbing or craggy foundations. Now, listen, excuse me. If you've been in a situation where you've been in that property that requires a lot of work, and you know it needs a lot of work, okay? What has been your typical inclination? I mean, if it requires heavy repair, if it's got foundational type problems, what's been your experience? Do you typically just kind of pass on those properties, or do you deal with them? No judgments, no right or wrong. I just want to bring this to your attention. Because think about it. iBuyers are not dealing with that. No. You go to Zillow offers, a homeowner who's got a property with a foundation, faulty plumbing, problem like that, something big, going to Zillow offers. Zillow offers is not going to be overly thrilled with dealing with it. That's a weakness that they have. That's something you can use. That's something you could use to your benefit. Right? Let's read what he says. He says, we spend more money to get it in buyer-ready condition. Right? This is OfferPad talking. OfferPad says that they'll do a little bit more comprehensive repairs exceeding what competition will do. All right, so where's Zillow and OpenDoor, Redfin, maybe some of these other type of companies, they're not necessarily going to go ahead and go after the property that requires heavier lifting. OfferPad will. OfferPad will do it. Some of it, a little bit more aggressively, says that they spend more money to get the home in buyer-ready condition. We go beyond just doing paint and carpet. We would do light fixtures. We would do appliances. We would do light renovation work, countertops, cabinets, and landscaping. Now think this through, okay? If you're a listing agent, if you're an investor, this is the type of stuff you're trying to do. This is the kind of the business that you're trying to get into. Now it says, obviously because the iBuyer is already investing in sprucing up in the residence, the potential buyer's chance of negotiating a further repair is slim, right? Yeah, okay, well, I understand that. But it says in OpenDoor's case, a displeased buyer has a 30-day window to return the purchased residence and obtain their money back minus a 3% fee. I always think about this. When I see something like this, I think about the time I hear Gary Vee talk about a story about how back in the day, right, free delivery was a thing. Like back in the early 90s. And I remember this. I remember back when they started that free delivery thing, right? And pardon me. And I thought to myself, gosh, that's kind of cool. Now, sure, you're paying for it in the end. I mean, I get it, right? But back then, that was a novelty. Nobody did that. And that was kind of a unique factor that made, places make a little bit more money. If you're willing to pay for the shipping, yeah, I'll use you. Because you made this easy for me. It's a comfort. I don't have to worry about wasting money. If I don't like it, then I would have been out of my shipping money. In this case, I'm not even out of my shipping money. Your competitors back then looked at that and they thought, gosh, how can you do that? That's going to cost you money. How about that money back guarantee stuff, right? If you don't like that, you get your money back. I remember people used to say, well, gosh, if you do that, then people will take advantage of you. If you just keep the product and we'll send you your money back or whatever, right? Well, look at this. OpenDoor is saying a displeased buyer has a 30-day window to return the purchased home and obtain their money back minus a 3% fee. What do you suppose the likelihood is that somebody's physically going to move into a freshly cleaned, painted, spruced up, fresh new carpet smell? I mean, the whole works, all the emotion and everything. And what do you suppose the odds are that they're going to move out in 30 days? I mean, the odds of it actually happening are so infinitesimally small, it's not even worth mentioning. And they know this. And the reason why they know this is because they're saying, hey, look, if you want to give your house back, we'll give it back to you. We'll take it back, no problem. I mean, all we got to do is just get 3% back as a restock fee, so to speak. I mean, could you imagine a world where that's a norm? I mean, here it is, 2019, July 25th, and you can't go anywhere else but OpenDoor and send your home back. Here's the next thing, easy access, right? While most home buyers search for homes online, touring the ones they like requires coordination with the owners and in some cases a day's notice to visit. iBuyers erase that drudgery. Okay, what does this tell you as an investor, as a realtor? Obviously you can't let people just wander into your listed property that's occupied at any, time or day. Of course not. Right? But that does tell you that on your vacant properties or the properties you're trying to sell, the easier you can make it for people to get into it at, whenever they can, the better off it is. So how do they control it? I mean, if you're in the multiple listing service and you're an agent, obviously, it's controlled through the multiple listing service and the boxes are recorded. Everybody knows who goes in and out and when, and you have a record of who it is and what's their phone number. And you know that they're a licensed agent and they have been for at least the last 24 hours because the app updates every 24 hours just to make sure that they're still licensed, right? How do they do it with these companies who aren't in the MLS? Well, it says that homes. I know you're gonna find this mind blowing, right? But check this out. It says houses owned by OpenDoor, OfferPad, and Zillow offers are vacant and accessible through the company's apps. Through the company's apps at the client's preferred time. What? Yeah. Hello. Yeah, you just go on the app. Yeah, you just click in there, your name and contact information. When you want to see the property, boom, shakalaka. There it is. There you go. It says that we hear over and over and over that buyers love looking at homes before work, on their lunch break, on the way to go pick up the kids from school, says an OpenDoor spokesman, right? That sort of convenience also extends to a pivotal moment in the real estate transaction, making an offer. OfferPad allows buyers to digitally submit an offer that asks for little more than a contact information and price. While non-binding initiation of more stringent procedure, this presents a major departure from the trove of paperwork needed traditionally to tender an offer. Guys, what have we been talking about? Well, how is that any different than a letter of intent? Right? It's not. A lot of times we make this so complicated. Now, the reason why agents, people say agents aren't worth anything is because agents don't tell people what they do. If you're an agent, you and I both know. If you're an investor, you and I both know. We all know, if you're listening on this podcast, we all know that you can make a letter of intent. You just write something up, have somebody sign it. It's not binding. It's my name. This is what I want to give you on the property. What do you think? Well, yeah, I could do that. And boom, now you go in there and you write in the fine details. It's not like they're writing up a contract on a napkin and everybody spits and shakes a hand and the next thing you know, money's transferred. No. They still go through all the nonsense and hassle and trouble that you and I do. The only fundamental difference is the way that they sell the sizzle. That's it. They're no different than you. You're a realtor out there wholesaling property. Maybe you go out there and you pick up property every now and again under, I don't know, whatever kind of contract you've got it under, and you decide to keep it and you decide to rent it out. Maybe you decide to fix it up and flip it. Maybe every now and again you decide to take that property you don't want to deal with. You want to wholesale it out to somebody else. You make things so damn difficult by going out there and insisting people, meet your way and operate in your way and do things your way, that, well, what do you know? They're creating a market around you that circumvents you. Not that they're reinventing the wheel. No, it's that they've done the same thing you're doing. They're just calling it something else. And they do it on an app. Says the opportunity may appeal to buyers without agents, but get this, most engage with an iBuyer through their real estate agent, shaping a process that bears many similarities to a regular transaction. Says we have a long history working together with agents, says the OpenDoor spokesperson. She said, they said, our goals are aligned. We want people to feel empowered to move when they are ready, not just when they have to. Now, I'm grateful that they're willing to work with agents. It makes things a lot easier for everybody. But as a real estate agent, as an investor, as a guy who's been doing this 23 years, I'm telling you guys, if you do not prepare yourself, they will take you over. Okay, don't look at somebody and smile and look at you and say, oh, we have a long history working together with agents. Are you kidding me? You've been in business for 3 years. You don't have a long history of working with agents. It's nonsense. You've only been working with agents because you're forced to, just like new construction. The only reason why new construction works with agents is because they have to. If you don't believe me, try going to a new construction site, signing in when you don't have your buyer broker with you, and then try and get representation after the fact, after you've signed in. They won't do it. When the market is really, really good, people try to get rid of agents as quickly as they can. Why? Because they figure that's an unnecessary expense. And when the market turns, and it will, then people are going to have a different opinion. But until that point in time, you as a real estate agent, as an investor, you have to be aware that these people, although they're working with you, they are adversarial competition. Let's look at the next one, under one roof. Exemplifying iBuyers' ideology of reliability and speed is the consolidation of various transactional steps. Securing a mortgage is a big one, right? Now, when you think about it, this is the one that usually trips up buyers, all right? Now, if you've got an iBuyer type platform where you're buying homes and you turn around, like I said a minute ago, and you turn around for most of them, 1 in 10, you sell to an investor like a wholesaler does. And then the other 9 you put on the market real quick. So hopefully you'll be able to sell it, right? You put some paint on there, you put some carpet on there, you put some new light fixtures up, maybe you put some new, I don't know, whatever, just to make it look good. And you put it on the market. And then your buyer comes along and they fail. I mean, when you look at the reality of the MLS, listen, everybody has a habit of thinking that the multiple listing service is a cure-all for property. You put it on the multiple listing service and it's going to sell. That's what your customers think. But the reality of your market and mine is the fact that it's probably only about 50% of the time or less that it actually sells the first time around. Less than half of the homes that go on the multiple listing service sell in the first 30 days. And that's in most markets. Why? Well, because agents make too many mistakes in the beginning. And if that's the case, if you know that that's the case, okay, and that your mortgage is going to be the one that causes your deal to fall apart, if you know that that's going to be the problem, well, then you want to take any step you can to make sure you roll out your own loan services to make sure you keep that whole process streamlined to where you don't have any fall through. That's the next logical step. That's what you want to do. You want to create a mortgage system. If you've got the iBuyer system, then you want to create the mortgage system because the mortgage system helps you keep that iBuyer flow, that pipeline full. The article says Keller Williams, OpenDoor, and OfferPad announced their expansion into mortgages in 2017. And Zillow joined them last year. Says that Greg Schwartz is talking about it. He says, it's a key piece of the on-demand experience we put in motion with Zillow Offers and aims to transform real estate transactions by making it seamless to get financed and get into your new home conveniently and on your own timeline. He's the president of media and marketplace for Zillow Offers. He's I think, apparently the smarter half of Zillow there because that Waxman fellow, he's not too bright. If you're a shareholder in Zillow or you're in the company there, you ought to consider taking Greg Schwartz and putting him into the CEO position because he seems like he's got a little bit more in the head there than the other fella does. Listen, I'm telling you, that's where the money's at. Waxman comes back, he says, hey, check it out. I don't take me out of my job. I got a good idea too. He says the company is also planning title and escrow branches. It's like dueling banjos in this company, man. I mean, we got one guy, yeah, man, we're going to go into the mortgages. Got the other guy, well, we're going to title and mortgage, so we're going to go to escrow. Everybody just upping themselves, right? I think it's a good idea. It says the concept of coalescing such services is not new. Of course not. If you've been a realtor, you know this. It says leading brokerages already do it. iBuyers see this as a growth opportunity, but it may be hard for them to realize. Why is that? Well, you and I both know it. If you're a real estate agent, how many times has your broker encouraged you to please use the affiliated services, right? Listen to Steve Murray, president and owner of residential real estate firm Realtrends, says large brokerages persuade only 30% of their customers to use mortgage extensions, he says. That, if you're a real estate agent, that's something you might want to be aware of. If your company has got an affiliation with a mortgage company or some kind of affiliation with a title company, as many of them do these days, Well, understand that, it's not like a whole lot of that business is possible they actually obtain. No. They don't get much of it all. Only 30% or less. I mean, if you're getting 30%, you're doing really well. Right? I mean, think out of all the hundreds of transactions that a real estate company does over the course of a year with all their agents, all the transactions, especially a larger one that's got an affiliation with a mortgage company. Out of 100 transactions, only 30 of them will go, or so at max, to their affiliate. Which means what? 70-something won't? That's a huge amount where you lose. But just like we were saying about baseball the other day, if you get 300 in this game, you're going to make money. Murray says, if the iBuyers can get to that level or above, then they will be very, very successful. And it will generate significant profit for them. Well, he's absolutely right. Steve Murray, president and owner of real estate research firm Realtors, 100% correct when he said that if those iBuyers get that money, that 30% or more mortgage from the mortgages that they can get, then they're going to have a lot of money in their war chest to go ahead and continue expansions. Let's look at the continued traditions. The third thing you can expect when working with an iBuyer and why this affects you as a realtor and an investor and how you can use this to your advantage. It says, operating in a slew of markets, meaning everywhere, obviously. I know many of the listeners to the Red Pill Investor podcast are much smarter than me. I had to look up what that actually meant. It said operating in a slew of markets. I thought they were talking about like a small rodent or something. Turns out slew is not a shrew. Slew means many. So if you already knew that, kudos to you. You're smarter than me. But it says operating in a slew of markets, buyers follow local customs on what closing costs they assume as sellers, including agents' commissions. Okay? Now, in that regard, purchasing a home from an iBuyer diverges little from a traditional transaction. Now, as you understand, currently, if they're going to operate in the multiple listing service, they're going to have a broker who's operating to the National Association of Realtors, is a member of the local MLS, going to have their MLS stuff on the MLS. They're going to cooperate. Okay? But could you imagine what it would look like if they ceased to do that? I mean, if they had their homes on the market by the hundreds and they didn't offer any cooperation whatsoever. And before you say that's not possible, it's 100% possible. I've seen agents do it. There was an agent a number of years ago I knew in San Diego, California, believe it or not. He was selling hundreds of homes a year. Hundreds of homes a year. And when I say hundreds, I'm saying like 200-300 homes a year this guy was selling, right? And story goes, essentially, that the multiple listing service got very upset with him because of his prospecting activities. He would go out and prospect day and night. I mean, he would frustrate people half to death with all his prospecting. And agents many times would think that he was calling behind the signs or whatever. And the multiple listing service kept giving him a lot of frustration about it and trouble. And he was always up there in front of the ethics board trying to, explain himself and getting fines and whatnot. And ultimately, apparently, he just got tired of dealing with it. And he withdrew from the multiple listing service. He stopped being a realtor. Now, if you're a real estate agent and you're a realtor and you're trying to figure out how does this work? Well, here's what he did. He took his 200-300 homes off the multiple listing service and kept his signs up and running with his own brokerage, didn't offer out any cooperation. He was a licensed real estate agent for the state of California in San Diego. He was licensed, sure. So he fit the state requirement, but there's no state requirement that he cooperate. Absolutely not. So in barring anybody telling him what he has to do, he's got hundreds of signs in the local market of San Diego selling these properties. Agents will say, well, gosh, I call up here. My buyer said that they like your home, but I didn't see it on the multiple listing service. How do I go about showing it? And they'd say, oh, well, just send us your buyer and we will go ahead and take care of it. We'll pay you a referral fee. What? Oh, yeah. Just pay us a referral fee. We'll pay you a referral fee. What do you mean? Well, we don't cooperate. That's what that means. I mean, if you have a hard time wrapping your head around it, I did too. Okay, but believe you me, when this is an actual story that actually happened in San Diego, and it was not that long ago. Okay, we're talking less than 10 years, maybe 15. Now, ultimately, what ended up happening is, after being off the multiple listing service and selling hundreds of homes for quite some time and not having to cooperate, he was double dipping every single property. So if you can imagine, instead of doing 200 homes, now he's doing 400 homes a year because he's double dipping them. And he's cooperating on none of them. He's only giving out referral fees, 25%. If you want to live in San Diego, you want to live in this area where he lived right there was not too many choices. You're going to either, give your buyer to that guy and he's going to, pay you what you get paid, or you're going to take your buyer someplace else and get maybe nothing. And sometimes people say 25% of this is better than 100% of nothing. So if one agent could do that with 300-400 homes in San Diego, California, it's not that hard for me to understand how Zillow, OfferPad, OfferUp, or any of these others, Redfin, or anyone, to offer up properties individually on their site and not offer out cooperation at all. I can see a future where you could go on OfferUp's website or something like that, a website, and you could see a home you like, and you could go in there and inspect the property, and you could check it out, and you could make an offer on it. You could get financing right there online. You could upload all your documents right from the comfort of your own home. You wouldn't need to see anybody except maybe once or twice. You could order home inspections, or if not, why would you need to bother with a home inspection? if they've got a 30-day guarantee, why don't I just buy the home? What do I need a inspection for if they're willing to guarantee it? Can you see how this could happen? See, these are some of the things you need to think about, okay? These are the lessons that you need to learn as you're going through this, because these people are finding ways to make things easier for themselves, and anything and anyone that stands in the way of that is going to get crushed. The market will not tolerate your obsessence anymore. That it won't tolerate your intransience. It won't tolerate you getting in the way. The market won't tolerate that anymore. So if you want to cash in on the market, you've got to find ways to be powerful where they are weak. You've got to find ways to be fast where they are slow. You've got to be finding ways to be helpful where they're being problematic. You've got to find a way to make it easier, faster, safer, and more enjoyable for your client. That is some of the hard lessons that we have to learn when we're thinking about what an iBuyer and a seller is going to get from an iBuyer and what a buyer is going to get from an iBuyer. In order for us to remain in this business, that's something, in my opinion, you need to pay attention to. So that's my opinion on that. What I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to listen into a couple extra calls that I made today. Some fun calls just to show you that prospecting is actually a little bit of fun. I've got some really interesting calls here. One of them, the lady was trying to tell me a joke. I just couldn't get it. Maybe you can. I've got another one where a fellow is telling me that God told him not to sell. Talk about that one. And a couple other things. So listen in as we go over those particular calls.
Hello?
Hi, this is Carl. How are you today?
Hi.
I'm not sure if I have the right person. I apologize. I was looking for the owners of a home. Is that your home, ma'am?
Nope.
Oh, gosh, I got the wrong place. I apologize. Do you know anything about that property at all? Does that ring a bell, or am I just way off base? Huh, okay. Well, listen, since I got you here anyway, do you know anybody who's got an unwanted home I could buy for cash?
Yeah, mine.
Okay. How much do you want for it?
$25,000.
All right. Is it a manufactured home? Tell me a little bit about it.
It has over 200 apartments.
Over 200 apartments
Yeah.
for $25,000.
Yeah, I'm not the owner.
Oh, I see.
I'm
You're not the
messing
owner.
with you.
Yeah, I know. It's obvious. No worries. Well, listen, you have a wonderful day, and thank you for your sense of humor. Have a nice day.
Okay. Hey, hello?
Yes, yes.
You said sense of humor, so you walked into something. I got a really good joke for you.
All right. Go ahead.
How do you get a computer to go up and stay up longer?
All right. So repeat that to me one more time.
How do you get a computer to go up and stay up longer?
I don't know.
You give it Viagra. How do you give a computer Viagra?
I got it. Okay. How do you get computer Viagra?
You gotta soak it until it fits in a hard drive. How did you like that one?
I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's a terrible joke. I mean,
Okay.
I like your attempt. I mean, but I don't know. The punchline was kind of. How about this one? All right. Well, now you've caught me at a loss because I can't think of a joke. So your joke's better than mine because I don't even have one.
I won.
You won.
I
All
shocked
right. Well, listen.
you, didn't I? I shocked
you
you,
have
didn't
a great.
I?
You have a great day. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
If you can figure out what that joke means, tell me in the comments, because I seriously didn't get it. But it's better than what I had. I didn't have anything. So, who am I to complain? But listen, in this next call, you're going to encounter a person who says that they didn't sell their home because it was God's will. And so listen in on what you can do on a conversation like this and how you can sort of address it. Tell me what you think.
Hello?
Good morning. This is Carl. How are you today?
I'm fine.
I'm not sure if I have the right person, so I apologize in advance. I'm actually looking for the owner of a home over there at. Is that your property, ma'am?
Yes, it is, but I've decided I'm keeping it. I'm not going to sell it.
I can't say that I blame you. That's a nice property right there. If you don't mind me asking, would you just even consider selling it to me personally?
No, I love my home. I love my home.
I was gonna say I don't blame you. I'm looking at it myself. With R2 lot right there. That's a nice zoning right there. So that's really nice. Yeah, I'm just curious. It looks like I guess you had it on the market here recently. I'm a broker over here at Sotheby's myself, but I'm curious. It looks like you had it on the market for 6 months. I guess it just went off the market. Is that right?
That is right.
So I assume this. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, my name again is Carl. Very quickly, I'm curious if I had come to you last week and I'd offered you $239,500 for your property, like it was on the market or whatever. If I had offered you last week the $239,500, would you have sold it to me?
No, because the sentimental value, my husband passed away 3 years ago, and he made this ugly house beautiful for me, and it has his memories in it. And
God bless you.
Yes, thank you. So it's more than a house.
Yes, ma'am. I can appreciate that 150%.
And actually, I tried to take it off of the market, at least 3 months ago. And my real estate agent wouldn't let me take it off the market until the contract was up.
Oh, gosh. God bless your heart.
Well,
all right.
Listen, I have to tell you, I prayed about it before I put it on the market. I'm a believer. And I prayed if God wanted me to leave, he would sell it. And if he wanted me to stay, he wouldn't. And I have to tell you, Carl, in the 6 months it was on, only 4 or 5 people, and it wasn't even the real estate agent that I had it with. She didn't show it one time. Came and looked at it, and nobody was interested in it. And that was a sign from God that I can stay here.
See, then that's the way things are supposed to work out. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that for you. Since I've got you here anyway, Patty, do you happen to know of anybody else who's got an unwanted home here in Tucson that I could buy for cash?
No, I would have a friend after this year is over. She wants to sell her house. Her daughter is finishing her last year of high school, and she just went through a divorce. And
God bless her.
I know.
Is this your cell phone here that I'm calling right now? Is this your cell phone or is this your landline?
Yes. No, this is my cell phone.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't I just do this? I'm going to forward over to you my little card here so you'll have it handy. And then it just tells you that, a little bit about me. You can Google me or whatever. But if you'd like, tell your friend about me, because I'm a broker here, as I mentioned, at Sotheby's. But I buy homes here in Tucson straight from owners themselves, if that's sort of what they're interested in. So it would certainly give her an opportunity to at least find out what the market value is, and then, of course, what somebody like me might pay for it. So something like that might help her out. Let me go ahead and forward that over to you here. You should get that.
Well, I would appreciate it, Carl, because I will hold on to it for myself because, none of us know what the tomorrows hold for us. And maybe
I 100% agree.
I'm 72, so maybe on down the road I will, need to look into something different. I do have my name on a list, on a 2-year waiting list for a senior apartment if I need it. So, I'll hold on to your information, Carl.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, I just sent it to you. It should be in your phone right now. So you can feel free to call me anytime if you have any questions about the real estate market. I've been here in town for over 23 years. If you ever have any questions about it or anything, feel free to give me a call. I'm happy to help in any way I can. Okay?
Well, I've been here 36 from Ohio.
Well, God bless you. Well, that's wonderful. Well, where did you go to church Sunday? Where'd you go to church?
I go to Northminster Presbyterian on Tucson and Fort Lowell.
Nice church.
It's the big church that looks like something from back east. A big white church with a tall steeple.
It is a beautiful church. I'm very familiar with it.
Wonderful church, wonderful pastor.
Wonderful. Good to hear.
Very friendly church. How about you? Where do you go?
I go over to Rincon Baptist myself.
And
that's over there on Golf Links and Prudence.
Okay.
My mom raised me. Well, actually, my family's from that side of town. I'm actually from Center, Tucson. I'm over here by TMC, and my office is over there on the northwest side. So I get around.
Yeah, you do. You do.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. Yes, ma'am. And you have a wonderful day. Okay.
All right. You do the same. Thank you.
God bless you. Now, take care.
You too. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
One of the biggest problems you tend to run into when you prospect like I do, I prospect for 2 or 3 hours a day, every day, 5 days a week. And one of the problems that I notice that I tend to run into is that I run out of numbers to call. And this is where the Red X system is really helpful because, you've got your for rent by owners, your for sale by owners, your expired, your canceled listings. You've got some pre-foreclosures that you can call. And then if you run out of people to call, let's say you called all the new ones that have come up. Let's say you called all the ones that are old, or let's say you called everybody you could, and now it's an hour has gone by and you've got no answers, or maybe there's no leads left to call, right? And you still got, an hour, maybe 2 hours left in your prospecting time. Well, that's why it's really useful to use the Red X system, because they have the Geo Leads system that I've been using to do a lot of just listed, just sold type calls looking for property. And so I use that to help fill up a bulk of my time after I've called expireds and canceleds and all the others. And that's really helpful. It's helpful for me because I found a lot of deals that way. It's helpful for me because I've set appointments. It's really helpful because you can get behind the scenes in a lot of places that maybe you couldn't ordinarily got before. But more importantly than that, if you're daily prospecting like I do, you develop relationships because you start talking to the same people over and over and over again. And this call is a good example of that. The next call here I'm going to share with you is a friend named Mike. He's an investor here in town. Good guy. Love him to death. But he is on the sort of the top end of his career, so to speak, right? He's got a couple hundred homes that he owns, and he's got a lot of his business automated now, and he travels a lot. And he's the kind of investor we all aspire to be. So I'm going to share this conversation with my friend Mike with you. And let me ask you what you think. I mean, if you're prospecting every day and other people see you doing it, well, what kind of impression do you suppose it makes in their mind? Something to think about. Prospecting has more than one use. Talk to you soon.
Mike.
Hi, my name's Carl Prinzel. How are you today? Hi, can you hear me okay?
Carl, Mike yet?
Oh, gosh, did I call you again? Holy cow, man, I'm calling all over this town. I'm picking you up on all these different LLCs and stuff. Jeez, I'm sorry, dude.
You're really mining it. You're doing a lot of
every
work
day,
there, Carl.
every day, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Yeah, every morning I'm out here calling people, yeah. Wow, okay, well, this one was on Shepherd Place. Okay. All right, well, listen, where are you in the world this time?
Well, we just got off a cruise to Mexico. We just got in the car, and we're headed off to the beach for a couple of days.
Oh, my gosh. The last time I talked to you, I think you were in Alaska or Washington or something, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in Washington, yeah. Good memory. Are you making 2 extra deals a week with your calling?
I am trying to anyway. I'm not as adept in this business as you are, but I'm certainly trying my best.
That's a lot of baloney. Perseverance, boy. You're doing it.
Well, after 20-something years, that's about the only thing I know how to do, sir.
Is what?
Is call. That's about the only thing I know how to do after 20 years is call, yeah.
Yeah. Good for you. Keep on plugging.
I will. I appreciate your encouragement. Enjoy your vacation or your time on the beach, sir.
Okay. Thanks, Carl. Good to talk to you, sir. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good old Mike. I'll tell you, that's the kind of life I want to lead. You know, just go out there and go to Washington State one time, Florida another time. I mean, always be out there on the move, enjoying your life. You know, God bless him. He deserves all those good things in life because he's been pounding away in the Tucson market for years. He's been an investor here in the market for years, and he's developed quite a good name. All right, well, listen, that's the end of today's prospecting session and our podcast for today. I appreciate you taking the time to listen in. I would hope that if you have any particular questions that you would feel free to email me directly, direct message me, or call me. If you have any referrals for the Tucson area or any properties that you have unwanted that you're wanting to sell and you happen to be in the Tucson area, then feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help you because I'm local and I have been for over 23 years. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to talking to you on the next podcast. And until then, have a powerful sales day. Bye-bye.